Welcome. These will be my thoughts on Arrow Season 3, Episode 15, Nanda, Parbat. The episode is rated CV-14, so there will be spoilers for the Arrowverse leading up to and including this episode. And another episode that I absolutely loved. I think we're going to jump directly into the chronological, because there's a lot to get to here. So, yeah. Let's see, I think, what was the first thing we saw? Maybe the, I think it might have been the training, and yeah, I really, really love seeing all these sword fights and Thea, being awesome, just so great. And yeah, the point about, technically it's his benefit that there's two of them if they're not working together. That's like, genuinely, I hadn't even thought of it that way, but it's, yeah, they're going to get in each other's way, possibly even accidentally injure each other, and yeah, they almost cancel each other out in a weird way if they don't work together. And it is, of course, also like, yeah, for various reasons, right now, the two of them are not 100% on the same page about some really, yeah, important things. And I think after that is when we get the first of the flashbacks. So yeah, we have Shriver. Yeah, let's go with that. He is saying that Oliver is allowed to leave. We are mercifully spared seeing Oliver say the same thing over and over and just catch him after he said it over and over. And yeah, like I knew there had to be some kind of catch. Like, obviously, he wasn't actually going to be able to just return to Starling City immediately. I was not expecting, but yeah, that's Waller. Like, yeah, she sent these guys because she had been removed from, yeah, just, yeah, I guess it's a decent enough time to say. If you, I read them years ago for the, well, wow. Oh, wow, now I feel old. I read them 10 years ago by now. But yeah, when the first Suicide Squad movie came out, I read, I think, every single New 52 Suicide Squad comic I could get my hands on. And yeah, really, really great stuff. Anyway, yeah, so let's see, I think that the next thing is, yeah, it's somewhere around here that we have Laurel calling Quentin, and by the end of the episode, we don't know exactly what his. I'm a little bit worried about his. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there have been times where their relationship was rocky rather than on the rocks, but well, I guess it works for both. Yeah, them not talking for an entire week after she said something that significant, that really, and I don't think it's accidental that we don't see him by the end of the episode. I'm worried, and I think the next thing is when the let's see, I think it might be when they're in the lair talking about the. Oh wait, no, that's gotta be later, doesn't it? Yeah, what was the? Okay, I'm just gonna pick a scene and go with. Yeah, let's talk a little bit more flashback, because that I definitely do remember. Yeah, so they, you know, I was honestly expecting when Oliver says, maybe you could borrow my jet. I was expecting there to be one of those, like, because I know that's a thing. In my defense, I've never personally done it. But apparently, a lot of parents get very frustrated if someone, like, starts to promise their kid something that they can't consistently provide, which, like, is fair enough. Don't want to spoil the kid. And yeah, so they get to the docks, And, of course, yeah, he clocks them. Oliver doesn't, but he does pick up on it when it's, yeah. And yeah, just some really, really cool stuff there. I loved when, like, even when really Fukushima barely gets to do anything, she's still so badass. Like, she picks up, what are those called? Rebar or something, and throws it into the guy. Just so cool. And yeah, the thing with, saving their lives with the handgun, which I also wonder if that's going to mean that he is in the present day going to do something to make up for, because yeah, there are several times where, Oliver really helped him in the past. They helped each other. And yeah, I think maybe the next thing is when so Thea, you know, yeah, she says that there will be justice for Malcolm. And yeah, like that was yeah, so many, what an emotional roller coaster, so he's there on the roof, which, like, yeah, she set up a meet and then told Laurel. And yeah, like I knew from the start that there wasn't really any way that, no offense to Laurel, she is awesome, one of my favorite characters, but with her degree of training, there's just no way that she'd be able to take out Malcolm. I fairly quickly came to the conclusion he's not going to kill her, because, like, it's not that he's above doing something like that, but he does tend to kill only when he feels that there is a goal to be accomplished by doing so. He doesn't really just, like, randomly kill. He doesn't. Yeah, it feels and I'm glad that by the end of the scene, like, I don't think that even if um, the League hadn't shown up, I do not think that he would have killed her. I wouldn't rule out he might have, like, broken one of her legs or an arm or something to stop her. But yeah. And let's see. Yeah, then they do show up, and one of them restrains Laurel, and they take him. And Nissa says, Sarah has been avenged. You don't have to do anymore. And I think she even says something like, it is honorable of you to want to avenge her, but we'll take it from here. The the feds are claiming that this is technically under their jurisdiction. And yeah, the thing about, so back in the lair, well, we're gonna have to go save him. And let's see, I think it's Thea who says, what? And then Felicity's like, I agree with her. And yeah, just the whole, oh right, I also really appreciate the part where Malcolm, that was the scene I was thinking of. They're talking about, like, the security on the club and such, and he calls him John, and then Dig goes, my friends call me Dig, you shouldn't talk to me at all. And I kind of love that he actually kind of accepts that. Like, he doesn't, because, like, perhaps one's initial reaction to that might be, John, I'm so sorry about what I did, or something, but no, he accepts it. I really love how many of these Arrowverse antagonist characters actually do have this warped sense of honor, because he respects that. It's like, fair enough. Like, I mean, I feel like, isn't that what he would, like, if he were in a similar situation with, someone who killed, yeah, that would also be, so yeah. But yeah, let's see, I think that does pretty much cover. Yeah, and Oliver confronting Laurel and saying, this is why I don't tell you things, because this is what happens when I do. And let's see. Yeah, the thing about, they find out the airport, unless it's an extraordinary coincidence. And yeah, drives up on the motorcycle, so cool. And the what's the word? Yeah, um, like when with the crossover, the rope arrow, to quote, to refer to it the way it is in Thief, or Thief 1 at least. Not working out so well for him recently, at least not all the time. And let's see, what was the other thing with there was at least one more thing that I really wanted to make sure to say about. But yeah, it was really, really cool fighting. And yeah, I love that, yeah, I gotta say, as soon as Nissa showed up and attacked, I was like, okay, there's no way that, on the roof with Laurel, there's no way that he's actually going to be able to stop Nissa in this circumstance, and I'm really glad that is indeed what happened. Like, he put up a fight as much as he could, but all he had was the stick that Laurel brought. He brought a stick to a sword fight, or rather, Laurel did. And yeah, once it's just the guards and there's multiple of them, he actually does, because they expect him to be basically helpless because of all the chains, and he manages to get one of them to cut the chains accidentally. It's just, yeah, really, really cool. And let's see, I think, yeah, so that does bring us to, yeah, so Oliver takes, takes Nissa back to the cell. And I think it's also somewhere around here that we have, Oliver tells, there's the thing about, Oliver does not want her, Thea, to tell anyone, but she goes and tells Roy, and he's like, I know. And, understandably, oh, what happened to the autofocus? There we go. Understandably, she's like, and none of you told me? Like, in their defense, it's really only like a dozen different people who knew and didn't tell her, and most of them don't even know her. So, but yeah, and then she tells Laurel, which actually I think, isn't that when there's then the thing about, working, I think that's what leads Thea to arranging the thing on the rooftop. So yeah, I really appreciate that she did make sure to give enough information. I didn't exactly miss that she did not do that with Nissa there. She just said he arranged for things, but I fired the arrow, which, like, I mean, I guess Laurel's not the only lawyer. That is technically accurate, but it kind of omits something very significant there. But yeah, she does tell Laurel, and I really appreciate that Laurel does have the emotional intelligence and, self-control, because, like, yeah, obviously your initial reaction would be to be furious at the person for doing it. And it's not, she doesn't let her off the hook, but she says, I don't blame you for what you did while under the influence, which is also, once again, such great character writing, because, like, at the end of the day, extremely hypocritical for Laurel to be judging someone else for what they did under the influence, And let's see. I wouldn't rule out that she might have a while back, but this is, she's gone to a number of meetings. Oh, I think I'm accidentally, did I comment on that? I did really love that thing where, she tells Quentin, I think we should go to a meeting, and he said, let's go to two separate ones. That was again, a really great, because, like, he respects, you're right, I need help, and, maybe you need a meeting too, but I'm not going to spend time with you. And let's see, yeah, Laurel makes a really good point. You work with him right now. You trusted him before. Like, you didn't know this was going to happen, but you knew who he was. And yeah, that was really compelling. Right, and I think that's is that when we have, I'll finish off the flashbacks real quick. So yeah, love the detail that the pistol actually did run out of ammo. I don't know why some people hate when that happens in an action scene. I think it adds tremendously to tension. Like, listen, I enjoy some of the ones where they just fire endlessly as well, but a lot of my favorites are the ones where they will run out of bullets and have to reload in the middle of things. That's one of the things I love about the original Terminator, for example. It's far from all of them, but I did, like, I don't know, what is it by now? 3 different videos talking about how much I love that movie. So I'm not going to go into it here. But just wanted to underline that's obviously not the main reason. Anyway, and yeah, it ends up with Oliver running off with Akio, because it is this thing of like, yeah, at the end of the day, Oliver's not the best of these 3 adults at fighting, and someone really has to get the kid out of there. This is not at all an acceptable situation for and I genuinely am not sure if they're going to be able to fight their way out, or if they're going to end up captured, and maybe Waller's going to leverage them to get Oliver back, because that could certainly be something that they could do there. Other than that, yeah, that's all of the flashbacks. So yeah, Roy. We'll get to Ray as well. Actually, maybe now is a good time to briefly talk Ray. Yeah, more amazing stuff. The thing about, he is about to use those, he's about to combine 2 things that from the, tech talk there, I gather that, this would be very dangerous. And, she's like, there's the thing about, I have to, I'll stop when I'm done. Yeah, or when you, I probably shouldn't say on camera what I shouldn't quote him on camera, not that particular line. And then, he's like, whatever comes first. That was not exactly the right thing to say. That's also really appreciated the part where Laurel, talks to Oliver, and, just to see if he's willing to tell the truth. And then, yeah, he failed the test. He lost the game. And and there's also a point in this episode where she says, I can't remember the last time I loved you. Yeah, things have really gotten bad, and it's very understandable. I really appreciate, like, obviously there's a lot of drama you can get out of a relationship going through such volatile changes, and used to be that it would be framed as, oh, I am moving around too much for the autofocus to keep up with. I'll try to sit still. It used to be, decades back, that it would be framed as the man being completely rational and the woman being irrational. And I really appreciate, like, here, yeah, it is kind of Oliver in the wrong. Like, I understand why he chooses to keep these secrets, but certainly if he's going to have to accept that that's going to deteriorate this relationship. And I think that might bring us to the... Yeah, let's go back to Ray. Yeah, we have the sadly very realistic bit about Felicity having to tell him to sleep and shower and such. And yeah, that is, there are a number of cishet white men who, if a woman does not tell them to, they will not do that. And I appreciate that most of them are not superheroes or aspiring. And yeah, it was really, really cool seeing him take flight at the end of the episode. But yeah, the thing with let's see. Yeah, he tries to log on, and someone changed his password. Interesting. And she's like, well, I can't stop Oliver, but I can stop you. Also, really, the thing about Dig, yeah, Lila pointing out, you're not gonna let this. You're gonna go, and I continue to really love how much Dig just loves, this baby. Just it's so sweet, and I am 100% in favor of normalizing in media. Listen, some fathers love their kids. That doesn't make you weak. It makes you stronger. Love, community, connection, these are the things that make up humanity. It's, yeah. And let's see. Think, yeah. I think I'll finish off Ray before I continue. Yeah, and the thing about I can't ask you to come. You didn't. Also, the part with you're going to keep her in a cell. Well, he's got an entire prison. I should not have told you that. And the thing with give me the room. Are you going to torture her? Give me the room. That wasn't a no, but yeah, he is not intending to torture her. And yeah, she's just like, well, I mean, it's your funeral, so it's. Which also, like, genuinely, I did spend the rest of the episode wondering, like, is he gonna die there again, or what exactly is gonna happen? And then the ending, just yeah, I'll talk about it when I get to it. But I'll finish off. That was a poor choice of words. I'm felicitating. I will talk some more about the Ray scenes. But yeah, ultimately, the thing about, it'll take you 6.25 hours to crack. But in that time, you get some sleep, you do these other things, and, then, oh, here's the password. Password. That is, like, Rickroll level trolling. I'm here for it. And the, let's see. Yeah. So she walks around looking at the artwork and like, is that Van Gogh? And then he comes out, oh, Vermeer. Well, I see he managed to get his shirt off. And it's one of those things, like, I would be uncomfortable with this scene if this was, like, the thing is, deep down, she is attracted to him. It's just this thing of, like, it's maybe moving a little fast, and by the end of before the end of this episode, they are on the same page about it, and he also does clarify, oh, I'm sorry, I just didn't think about it, he wasn't doing it to like mess with her or something. Also, yeah, they did manage to finish, so she's not completely, she is more confident, but occasionally she will still say, she said, I am taking you to bed, putting you to bed. Why do I always do that? But we also have the thing about, you're really attractive. They're really attractive. And yeah, the thing about, he acknowledges, like other tech billionaire, he's not the only tech billionaire to become obsessed with certain things. Yeah, I think that is pretty much the definition of a tech billionaire. Well, they're not the only ones who become obsessed with things, but their obsessions are so much more harmful than people who don't have that much power and influence and wealth. And yeah, all things that I agree with that. For a while we said, power corrupts, and absolute power absolutely corrupts absolutely. I agree with the so I forget who said, but someone noted that we should really be saying that power reveals. And yeah, that is very much the case with a lot of tech billionaires. I mean, at this point, so many of them aren't even hiding it anymore. They're just coming right out and saying, "Oh yeah, I want to do this really, really obviously awful thing." And yeah, we're probably going to need changes in legislation to stop at least some of them. And I think that's more likely to happen if we get more progressives in office. And yeah, just something to keep in mind. I have noticed recently that data centers are becoming a major, like, a lot of conservatives hate them as much as we progressives do. So just keep that in mind the next time you vote. And when you express your politics in general, maybe think about who it is who's trying to stop, among so many other unethical things, data centers. Now, I think that does pretty much right with Ray. So yeah, he says, you tell me when the emperor has no clothes, and she's like, speaking of. And once again, I love how well this is handled in the Arrowverse so far. So there's two kisses in this scene. First, she initiates, then apologizes. He says he's not sorry, and then he initiates. And with both of them, while there is not verbal consent, there is nonverbal consent. Because when one of them leans in to kiss, the other one closes the distance. In both cases, this is how you do it. Like, it's so obnoxious when you have, like, conservatives saying, like, oh, what, so we have to, like, sign a contract? Do you really mean to tell us, like, this is such a self-report? Are you seriously telling the entire, and anyone who will listen, that you can't tell when the other person actually wants, for example, a kiss? Like, I'm sorry, that's really something you're going to have to work on. If you genuinely can't tell if it's not being verbally communicated, then yeah, practice exclusively verbal consent. Like, I'm sorry, that's... Hopefully I don't even have to say what the alternative is. Like, that's... Yeah. But I guess I will. Bare minimum sexual assault, possibly rape, depending on what you're doing to them without getting their consent. Anyway, the other thing was and so, later the camera pans from the floor up to them. Appreciate that we don't see it because we don't really need to. I'm not saying that they should never ever show. I did think it was great. Wow, that was way back in season 1, wasn't it? Yeah, because Tommy was still alive when, and that was part of why we were seeing it, because we saw that Tommy saw when Laurel and Oliver got together, Yeah, so far I would say when they show at least part of a sex scene as much as they can on a TV-14, I would say it tends to be because there's something significant. And here, we didn't really need to see it. So it is, yeah. And he wakes up and realizes something, writes it down, implements it, and flies off. And really looking forward to seeing him in action scenes. Yeah. Let's see. And I know I'm a broken record, but it bears repeating. And technically this is a new piece of evidence for it. I continue to prefer the Arrowverse suits to the DCEU suits. Now, I think that brings us all the way to Nanda Parbat. And yeah, this whole thing of, they're going to have to sneak in this thing of like, okay, so the one thing we have on our side is the element of surprise. That was an arrow where the arrowhead was on fire. We do no longer have any... Yeah, we're screwed. And really, really cool is that, they turn around and head back towards the shooters, and, Dig is using his gun. Oliver picks up a flaming arrow, fires it back at the guy, and it catches on fire. So freaking cool. Like, oh, wow. And, they manage to get inside, and there's the guy who's, like, trying to warn, and they take him out. The next guy, several more guys. Were those, like, I think there were, like, little throwing knives that he was using. Or was it just I know he has had those little kind of gauntlet things where he can use that to fire mini arrows. But yeah, really, really cool. And they make it to Malcolm. I will say I was surprised that he would beg. I was not hugely surprised, and I appreciate they also covered that in dialogue. He's not going to show the video. He would not do that to Thea. I guess there's also decent enough... right. I'll just briefly... yeah, they do arrive there and run up to him, and very good job by the production, because yeah, what they're doing there, that's not going to kill him anytime soon, but it will hurt like to a truly unfathomable degree. Like, you thought Hotfoot was like bad, like this is, because like, yeah, the heat is just far enough away. The thing is, if the heat is there's a thing about, like, I read that if someone directly touches something like that, it's like hot coals basically, they will pass out unless they're just walking across, and that takes a lot of practice before you can master that, But yeah, if his feet were directly touching it, he would just pass out. He wouldn't be able to feel as much pain. But like that, like, yeah, it's hot enough that it's really, really, like, think about the soles of our feet are actually more sensitive than some people give them credit for, and that's of course necessary, because like it's how you can tell if the ground is secure under you, and yeah, and his what do they call wrists with chains around, that's also really, really gonna hurt. And yeah, they get close to him, and he gets out the word trap. Oh no. And it's at the same time, it's like, I mean, this is Roz. He doesn't exactly, you really gotta go above and beyond to get one over on him. Yeah, I'll talk briefly about, so Thea and Roy, yeah, they are parked a place, and we have, well, again, these wonderful exposition. She's like, I don't know why I'm even here, and he's like, as I told you off screen, the yeah, I wanted to show you what I do, and she says he's torturing himself, and what he, like, essentially what he's doing, other than crossing the IP streams, because he got the kid a Boba Fett. Not like, well, I guess, let's see. I guess if he said Batman, that would be like, wait, do Batman toys exist in the universe that Batman exists? Well, actually, yeah, and that's the thing. I don't actually know if Batman does exist in this universe or will, but don't worry. I'm avoiding spoilers. Anyway, what else did WB own? I guess he couldn't get the kid a Pennywise doll. Yeah, okay, fair enough. Maybe a Boba Fett is the best. But yeah, what he's describing is restorative justice. He's trying to make it right. And I guess arguably taking a page out of the Lionheart book. I should watch that again. It's been too long since I watched Jean-Claude Van Damme. Anyway, yes, I think that does pretty much cover. Yeah, but so yeah, Laurel confronts Oliver about leaving, and he's like, Thea told you, and Roy, and Nissa, and a nameless extra that I passed on the street? How many people have you told? And yeah, the ending, holy crap. He's not intending to kill Oliver. He wants someone to replace him, become the new Ra's al Ghul. And it's like, I genuinely don't, because like, what's the consequence if Oliver says no? Because like, obviously Oliver doesn't want, wait, could he use the League non-lethally to, okay, yeah, I can hardly wait to see what the follow-up is going to be. But yeah, there's a lot of situations where if you say no to something like that, the consequences are about as bad as saying yes. And it's so great because they did drop these little hints. He talked to Malcolm about, this magician, he was amazing. And then I saw him, half a century later, and I don't know, I guess time passed, so he was dying. No one can postpone the inevitable. No magician can escape death. We thought he was talking about Malcolm. He was talking about himself. That's so clever. That's such a great, just, yeah. Also like the detail that Laurel, pretty sure it was Laurel, yeah, brings the some food to Nissa. Also love, that's so her, like fits completely with the characterization up to this point. At no point does Nissa beg or anything. Like there's no sense of, like, she doesn't even seem frustrated. Like as the helicopter flies off, she's just like, okay, you got me. You wanted to leave with him, didn't you? I guess I won. And you know, when the subject of torture is brought up, she's not even like, are you really going to torture me? She's just like, really? Okay. And yeah, the conversation between her and Laurel, fantastic. And yeah, you know, it is sad. Well, the whole thing with and I can just see it. I can totally see. That's a credit to the writing and characterization. I can 100% picture in my mind Roz doing power demonstration and Sarah laughing innocently, you know, not being like, oh, wow, you know, just, yeah. Because we've seen Sarah's laugh, you know, she at times could be a very happy, positive person, you know, so yeah. I really appreciate how well these shows handle grief as well. Like, they're not just, yeah, you don't immediately move on, you know. And yeah, both with you know, Laurel, both with Oliver and with Nissa, talks about not being able to remember what Sarah was like when she was happy, you know, and only remembering what she looked like dead. And yeah, that is unfortunately, very, very sadly, sometimes that is how it is. And it really, it hurts. It's something to, you know, work to recover from. I just wanted to clarify, it is an actual thing. It's not just that Laurel is getting to have a very bad level of memory recall.